Technology in smartphones is moving faster than ever. Or is it? We're seeing higher specs every year, but do they actually matter? Let's talk about why no one cares about new phones anymore. So recently Apple has revealed the new iPhone 16. It gives us a new camera control button, a faster chip, and some minor camera improvements. And in my opinion, it reflects a slowing pace of innovation. The iPhone 13 was probably the last good iPhone, giving us improvements in every department. A better battery, screen, camera. So it seems like these days it's actually taking more than 3 years for people to actually upgrade. But what about other phones? Let's start with performance. Every year we're getting faster phones with 20 to 30% more processing power. But for what? How many of us are really pushing our phones to the limit? Most tasks like social media, browsing, and YouTube barely scratch the surface of what these powerful chips can do. Sure, gaming could benefit, but the gaming industry is not keeping up. While iPhone users are getting access to some AAA titles like Resident Evil Village, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and a few other of these games, but Android still lags behind. The fact is, we're getting all this speed, but not enough applications to justify it. We're getting rumours that the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 has up to 50% faster graphics than last year, but how can I even get excited about that? Now let's talk about charging. Do you remember the days when charging speeds were climbing from 20 watts to 65 to 120 and then 210 and then down to 100? Companies are slowing down the charging, but why? Well, we found a sweet spot between getting charging speeds and battery life, and this is for a good reason. Most of us would prefer a phone that lasts 2 days over one that charges in 10 minutes but dies just as quickly. Speaking of batteries, they are getting bigger, but with a catch. Phones are getting bulkier and heavier. I remember having my OnePlus 5T and that was around 160 grams and only 7.3 millimeters thick. And now my OnePlus 12 is 220 grams and 9.2 millimeters. That is a huge difference, and honestly I don't like how heavy the phones are getting. And what about the screens? They are brighter, but do we notice? Probably not. We're getting a lot of these crazy number claims, but a lot of them are just for HDR content. You've also got higher refresh rates, like 120Hz, 165Hz, but let's be real, beyond 120Hz, most people can't even tell the difference on a phone, and it's just more strain on the battery for a feature that doesn't really add much. If you look at some gaming phones like Red Magic 9, it's still using 120Hz. Back in the day, it was exciting to see 120Hz being brought on more budget phones, but now it seems like every phone out there is already using it. Now let's dive into cameras. They can't physically get much bigger without making the phone too bulky. Recently, we've actually managed to achieve a 1-inch camera sensor on smartphones, which is kinda mind-blowing to me because that's the same sensor size as you would find on one of these RX 100 vlog cameras. But phones with those sensors are usually very bulky and expensive. An example would be the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. It's 9.2 millimeters, 220 grams, and it's £1,300. It does sound exciting, but it's not something we'll get on mainstream budget phones anytime soon. And we've also hit kind of a plateau with camera software too. Look at the Pixel 9 or iPhone 16, they're adding more megapixels, but are they doing much else? Not really. The improvements are incremental, and it's becoming harder to justify upgrading for cameras alone. Professionals were really excited about the Apple Prologue, which was a huge feature. But this year with iPhone 16s, we're getting 4K 120fps and a camera button. That alone is definitely not exciting enough to upgrade. And I think this is why we're heading towards a new direction: foldables. This is a real step up from a typical flagship. This is something you can get excited about because it's truly an innovation, but they're still too expensive. If you look at a typical foldable phone like a OnePlus Open, it's £1,600, around a double of a normal flagship, and so it's not practical for most people until the prices drop. However, just because they're the most expensive, it doesn't mean that they have the best specs. For example, the Z Fold 6 compared to the S24 Ultra is quite a step down in terms of camera hardware and battery life, so you still have to sacrifice some specs even though you've already sacrificed a kidney for it. A big reason why new flagships are not as exciting anymore is because of how features are trickling down to cheaper phones. Take the Galaxy A55. Flagships don't have much more to offer these days. Flagships used to be cutting edge. It was the only way to get 120Hz AMOLED screens, the best cameras, the best designs, but now, mid-range phones have like 90% of the same features, just at a lower price. So why spend £1,000 on a flagship when a £400 phone does the same thing? It's getting to the point where a flagship is just a little bit faster, has a slightly better design and a few nice niche features. And finally, phone companies are moving towards longer upgrade cycles. That's why phones are getting software updates for 5 to 7 years now. It's not about pushing you to buy a new phone every year, it's about extending the life of your current device. Honestly, we could be moving towards a new model similar to gaming consoles, where we're seeing major upgrades only every 5 to 7 years. That's good news for the environment too. Companies know that you're not gonna upgrade every year, so they give you a phone that's built to last. They know that it's targeted more towards the people who haven't upgraded in 3 to 5 years, so that those new features add up every year to make a big difference. So in conclusion, smartphones have matured, the rapid revolutionary advances are slowing down, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that phones are finally reaching a point of stability, where improvements are more about refinement than reinvention. Just like cars for example, we're seeing small meaningful upgrades over time, so maybe we don't need to upgrade every year, or even every 2 years anymore.